This fresh coat of the startup life has been sprayed on nice and smooth by Wagner and the Flexio Series of paint sprayers. Startup Nation, my wife decided she wanted to rehab her childhood home. The goal was to fix it up and invite a nice family to rent it out. We knew one of the biggest jobs we had to undertake was painting. However, from the walls, the cabinets, and even the siding outside, it was going to be a big task. As entrepreneurs with a company to run, we knew this was going to take up a lot of our time, which is why we decided to get a paint sprayer. And after much research, we decided to go with the sprayer from the Flexio Series from Wagner. Startup Nation, these sprayers are top-notch because of its flexibility to paint or stain walls, furniture, cabinets, and more. It's 10 times faster than using a paintbrush, which was a big selling point for us. And you can paint or stain right from the can. It's also easy to clean in 5 minutes, and being great for indoor and outdoor projects, a paint sprayer from the Flexio series clearly needs to be part of the arsenal in your garage. So if you're ready to stain your deck, or like me, fill your daughter's request of a bubblegum pink room, up your game with a paint sprayer from the Flexio series by Wagner. Take it from me, your time will thank you.
It's time to be about that life, the startup life. Here's your host, Dominic Lawson.
All right, Startup Nation, I hope you're ready to receive some value today. My name is Dominic Lawson, and this is the Startup Life, the show for entrepreneurs and career-minded professionals. You know, Startup Nation, as we move forward into this 21st century economy, you know, one of the big players, and you know, when we talk about technology and how we build things, are going to be engineers, which is why we have a great guest on the show for you today, for sure. He is a mechanical engineer with a love for extreme sports, which we're definitely going to talk about. He was recently awarded the honor of Forbes 30 Under 30, which is an amazing accomplishment. He is also the co-founder and CEO of Fractory, a cloud manufacturing platform that reduces procurement time with clients in 15 countries and expects to earn over $11 million in revenue this year. He is, Startup Nation, Martin Vares. Martin, what's up, man?
Hi, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
No worries, no worries. Really quickly, man, are you ready to pour some knowledge into Startup Nation today?
Absolutely. Hopefully, I can shed some light into what we are doing and add some value to the listeners.
I think we're definitely going to accomplish that, Martin, for sure. But look here, man, let's kind of start with your origin story. Just kind of share with us your background and how you got up into this point in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I can call myself really an engineer by heart, and as you very correctly said, engineers are the ones that are going to build the future. And it was just the other weekend we saw that happening with our own eyes, right? The SpaceX launch. Obviously, I'm not an Elon Musk, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but I do believe that engineering is a very important profession, one that is quite often undervalued, and thusly the technology in it as well. But more on that later, I guess. I myself, I come from a small city in Estonia, in Eastern Europe, or part of Nordics actually, and I've been building stuff my whole life, and I studied engineering. I worked as an engineer, but it's much more than that. I love building things. Not only the company that I've been running for more than 2.5 years now, but everything. I'm currently working on a motorcycle project, for example.
Nice.
And yeah, from that engineering degree and experience in the mechanical engineering sector, I discovered a problem that was just pissing me off as an engineer on a daily basis, and that's procurement process. So a lot of the engineering companies, they make their own products, but majority of SMEs don't have all the necessary equipment and machinery to produce all the parts. So I, as an engineer, I had to spend time sending emails out trying to get price quotes for my design parts for different projects. And that is a long process, and it can take up to weeks to get anything finalized and start production. So I had an idea that, well, there should be a virtual solution or an online solution that takes my information in the form of drawings of the part and combines it with the information of many of those manufacturers out there in the market, and so I can make my purchase decision faster, and I can give all the information necessary. So now, fast forward to today, we are running in well, many countries in Europe, but also in US. And we have two offices, one in Estonia, one in UK, Manchester. And we have built what me and two of the other co-founders dreamed of roughly 3 years ago, and it's working wonderfully.
That's amazing. So I love how you talked about, you saw that problem and then you found like a solution for it. And that honestly is like the core of an engineer, right? I've always found that fascinating. So I want to ask you this, man, because, engineers are just problem solvers, right? They're just natural problem solvers, right?
Absolutely.
Walk me through Martin's doctrine of problem solving, whether it be an engineering problem or like even just something like, we work through day to day, like, figuring out the grocery list or something. I just want to hear your process as far as problem solving, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I might be a bit different on that. Whereas
Okay.
at least where what I can see from other engineers and other people in general is that.
Well, we like different, so it's all good.
Yeah. So basically, I like to vision things. So I have pretty imaginative mind. So when I tackle a problem, then instead of going full into research straight away, I tend to sit back and just vision different outcomes and different solutions, but also different sort of worst scenarios. So when I think of a solution for a problem, I don't think what it solves, but actually what it might make worse as well. And I try to think of many solutions, and then I usually come up with something in my mind, be it engineering, like a physical product, or a, I don't know, more recently, financial plans is my day-to-day life. So I tend to vision everything in my head, the numbers, everything, and then when I reach at the sort of bigger picture stuff, then I do go to research quite often to validate if what I thought it could work from others' experience, because I think learning from others' experience is a good way to avoid making your own mistakes as much as possible. Although making some mistakes is also good, and yeah, after that, I just get on with it. I'm not maybe a kind of guy who makes the full plan before starting to solve a problem. I come up with a big picture, and I come up with where I want to be heading and where I want to end up. And then I just start with it and see where it takes me. Because from my experience, if you make a plan, then at the second turn, you can scrap.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And you said a few things that I really liked, Martin, and started mentioning. I hope you caught on to that. One of the things I want to point out is they said learn from others to kind of minimize those mistakes. And I think we're all, as we engage on our path of entrepreneurship and stuff like that, we're definitely trying to minimize those mistakes. So learning from somebody like a mentor or somebody, is very important, but also not being afraid to make those mistakes, because that's a learning process as well. But, for sure. And I actually do love your process, the problem solving, as far as like, thinking about the outcomes, what could go right, what could go wrong. And then it seems like you maybe kind of like backwards plan from there and then really come up with, the meat and potatoes of the plan and stuff like that. So I loved all of that, Martin. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries.
No worries, no worries. So look, man, I was, researching, doing my show prep and stuff like that, and you have a pretty amazing background. As a kid, man, let's talk about this extreme sports stuff a little bit, right? So I see that you were like a multiple time swimming champion in Estonia. Kind of tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, sports has always been part of my life, and my parents, they used to go mountain skiing before I could walk, and when I turned, I think I was 5 years old when they first put me on skis and pushed me down the mountain. So that's where part of it started. And when I was 7, I started snowboarding because I thought that was cooler. So,
Fair enough.
But swimming, yeah, I went to swimming when I was, I think, 10 years old. Did it for 5 years or so, but had to. Right before I was actually supposed to start preparing for the Olympics, I had a knee surgery, and turned out I had a sort of genetics related
Gotcha.
problem in my knee that basically put a stop to my swimming career. But yeah, I was a multiple time champion in Estonia, but also in Europe as well, in youth sort of segments.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to ask you, man, did you have like a Olympic dream? So clearly you did. Now, unfortunately, that genetic disorder that you talked about kind of stymied me. And, do you ever think about what could be? I mean, you see like all these great swimmers, obviously I'm in the States. So, I think of like Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte and stuff like that. Pearsall, a couple of those guys, stuff like that. Do you ever think about what could have been if you were able to pursue that dream a little bit?
To be honest, not that much. I don't usually wallow in the past. I tend to move forward. Whatever happens, it's sort of for a reason or helps you forward. And having those experiences, both doing well in sports and also having it taken away, definitely has taught me many valuable lessons, and I think I can use them in the later life as well.
I actually want to circle back to something you talked about earlier. You were talking about, Elon Musk and their amazing feat of, launching some astronauts into space to the international, I believe it was the International Space Station, just a few weeks ago. When you see feats, as a mechanical engineer, when you see feats like that, maybe it's not necessarily you, but when you see other people in your craft soaring to new heights, I guess I'm asking a two-part question. One, how important is that to your field and what you do? But I guess also, two, what I'm wondering is, do you ever just get like, sit back and just get like super excited about that? Like you don't think of it as from a craft or mechanical engineer standpoint, like there's just times where you're just a fan. So I kind of want to know that about you, man.
Well, to be honest, I have a pretty mechanical mind, although very imaginative, but still very mechanical. So when I looked at the launch, I did get excited. I got very excited, but maybe not because just the fact that we're launching humans into space, but what makes it possible, and all the numbers that are involved. Looking at the speed of the rocket and how it attaches and how it lands and all that is what made me definitely excited, and the fact that this time it was the first time that a private company launched humans into space, and and landed the first burners back on Earth. The combination of those facts is definitely what gets me excited. And part of your question also was how important is that to the field of engineering. I think
Right.
that was one of the things that the sort of effort of Elon and the SpaceX team and Tesla team and all of them. The effort of popularizing engineering and making engineering sexy, which it never has been basically.
Right.
I think it's a very good thing, and I think it's long overdue that somebody did it. And in a way, we with Fractory and the way we present ourselves and the way we do or approach our branding, that's also part of making engineering a bit more interesting than it maybe is in the first glance, because well, it is very interesting, but it's often dressed up as something very boring.
For sure, for sure. No, you're definitely right about that, and I can definitely see that. As far as that branding piece, right? Making engineering sexy, as you say. Because honestly, man, for those of us who are kind of like lay people outside of the engineering world, Elon Musk is kind of like to seeing as us like as a real life Tony Stark in a lot of regards, right? So that's kind of cool. Thank you for sharing all of that, man, for sure. So I want to ask you, yeah, for sure. I want to ask you this too, man, because, I saw you were featured, you and your co-founder were featured in an article for engineering.com. And the name of the article, Startup Nation, is an automated manufacturing platform that answer to the supply chain breakdown. Because we're seeing, due to COVID-19, the coronavirus, that we're seeing a lot of supply chains kind of like, not necessarily not being optimized, but kind of, as the article says, breaking down, not necessarily running as efficiently as they have in the past. I know a lot of grocery stores are feeling that, it's not from a manufacturing standpoint, but a lot of grocery stores are feeling that from like, meat and stuff like that. So if you would, man, kind of talk about what we're experiencing with the supply chain issues there, and how does Fractory come in to kind of solve that?
Absolutely. Well, to start off with, when we started Fractory, it was my understanding that, or why we thought that now is the right time to actually start building what we are building, was the fact that supply chains actually started to change a few years ago, roughly 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Whereas in 10 years ago, still everybody was moving towards Asia and mainly China to produce everything. But in the recent years, the customers are starting to want more customization, more variables in the product. They want something that it feels like it's custom made for them. And not talking mainly about consumer products, although we see definitely more variation in consumer products as well, but also in engineering products, in heavy industries. We want more of options. We want more solutions. So that means that the companies are not only forced, but it makes more sense to bring the production back closer to their client. So that means that it's not anymore big factories somewhere overseas that produce everything, but it's a combination of different small companies working together. Now that's something new, and that's at least in a fast pace that we are expecting today to work. It's definitely new, and it's a complex problem to solve with all that communication. And what's happening in the supply chain is that humans are sort of becoming the weakest link, or becoming the bottleneck in all of that. The companies and the production itself, they could move much faster if the supply chain was faster. So obviously the next step has to be digital. It has to be automated. We can't expect people to be as fast as we want them to be when they're using emails and phones to communicate all the technical aspects that are necessary in production. So what we have built is an online platform that automates all that communication. So you're an engineer, you have that computer-aided design file of a part, you upload it into a system, and it gives you a price and lead time straight away. You purchase it right there and then, and that's all you have to think about. In a week's time, it will land on your doorstep or factory floor. And at the same time, from the other side, the producing companies, they don't have to do the hard work of quoting while not knowing if they get the job or not. So all those manufacturing companies that produce stuff for others, they have many engineers, smart people doing very simple jobs, which is basically calculating prices, which can be automated. And we did that. And now we're making sort of both sides more efficient. And now coming back to the day and the situation with the crisis, it was all accelerated. So it took us 3-4 years to start understanding that we need to come back close to the customer to produce our stuff and start building those supply chains near to us. But now when the COVID hit, nobody was ready for it. The supply chains were still functioning as they were 20 years ago, and nobody had the right tools to cope with the situation. And now we see a huge number of new customers coming to us because we provide that solution for them to build up the new supply chains, or not only build up new ones, but actually change the way they approach supply management. Because throughout the crisis, companies had to stop producing at different times, and there was a lot of chaos, and customers didn't know where to go. But our system was constantly live, and there was always somebody who could produce. So that's sort of clarity and reassuring system that the customers needed and need today, and we're here to help them, and we've been happily growing throughout the crisis as well.
Right. Because because I imagine you, like you said, you're getting probably more looks now, especially, with everything going on. Did that surprise you a little bit? Quick follow-up question. Did that surprise you at all? That because you're seeing a lot of companies where, business kind of slows down and stuff like that, but you're kind of accelerating a little bit. Did you expect that at all?
To be honest, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think that's the place to be humble, because it had to happen in one way or another. I'm not saying that I'm in any way happy about the crisis situation.
Of course not. No,
but obviously there had to be something that accelerated the understanding of where the world is moving and what type of systems companies can use to maintain their normal working environment, or be less sort of influenced by the outside world, and so our solution is actually the exact right fit for the current situation. So when it started, I did have a hunch that we might see growth and accelerating growth during that situation. Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Last follow-up question before we move on, because you're there in Manchester. I'm here in the States, and but no matter where you are around the world, when a lot of times when people hear the word automated, they automatically equate it to losing jobs and taking over jobs, AI taking over jobs, automation taking over jobs, wherever the case may be, right? And the thing is, honestly, there's two sides to that coin. There's there are some jobs that may or may not be replaced, but there are some jobs that actually get enhanced by automation. It's not necessarily meaning that, that somebody will lose their job, but it also just makes their job more efficient to where they can focus on other aspects of the job. So I'm curious, because I know you hear this debate based on, what you do there at Fractory. Where do you stand on all of this? Because, automation it's not going anywhere. Not only is it not going anywhere, it's accelerating.
Absolutely, it is accelerating, and we are seeing more and more processing is being automated. And I think from a human perspective, although there are a lot of fears, but I think it should be embraced, because I personally don't believe it's reducing the number of jobs. No, definitely not. I think, as you very correctly said, it enhances and makes one's job more efficient. So if we talk about those engineers that have to order the parts, or the engineers that have to calculate the prices from the other side, those are the ones we connect. And the only part we take away is the mediocre, mind-numbing, simple task of putting numbers together and sending out emails and making phone calls. I mean, right. It's not the place where you add value. You're an educated engineer. You should be doing something else, and we give them more of that time. And they're not going to lose their jobs because we are automating that simple but time-consuming task of their workflow. They can focus that time on making better products, coming up with new ones, coming up with better manufacturing processes, and so on. There's so many more places where the human mind can find much more use than sending out email.
All right, Startup Nation, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We got to pay some bills. Once again, my name is Dominic Lawson, and you're listening to The Startup Life. This fresh coat of the Startup Life has been sprayed on nice and smooth by Wagner and the Flexio Series of paint sprayers. Startup Nation, my wife decided she wanted to rehab her childhood home. The goal was to fix it up and invite a nice family to rent it out. We knew one of the biggest jobs we had to undertake was painting. However, from the walls, the cabinets, and even the siding outside, it was going to be a big task. As entrepreneurs with a company to run, we knew this was going to take up a lot of our time, which is why we decided to get a paint sprayer. And after much research, we decided to go with the sprayer from the Flexio Series from Wagner. Startup Nation, these sprayers are top-notch because of its flexibility to paint or stain walls, furniture, cabinets, and more. It's 10 times faster than using a paintbrush, which was a big selling point for us. And you can paint or stain right from the can. It's also easy to clean in 5 minutes, and being great for indoor and outdoor projects, a paint sprayer from the Flexio Series clearly needs to be part of the arsenal in your garage. So if you're ready to stain your deck, or like me, fill your daughter's request of a bubblegum pink room, up your game with a paint sprayer from the Flexio Series by Wagner. Take it from me, your time will thank you. This episode of The Startup Life is sponsored by SaveTheChildren.org. Startup Nation, Save the Children believes every child deserves a future. In the United States and around the world, they work every day to give children a healthy start in life, the opportunity to learn, and protection from harm. They deliver lasting results for millions of children, including those hardest to reach. They do whatever it takes for children every day, and in times of crisis, transforming their lives and the future we share. Startup Nation, right now, the coronavirus is the biggest global health crisis in our lifetime. It threatens children in every way. COVID-19 has already left many children without caregivers, out of school, and exposed to violence and exploitation. Child poverty is rising. With your support, we can help children in unsafe households and help support distance learning in the face of school closures. Here are some ways your support can make a difference. For just $5, you can buy a baby's first book, providing comfort and inspiring lifelong learning. And for $25, you can serve a nutritious breakfast and lunch to 5 out-of-school children in need. And there's many other ways you can help support Startup Nation. So go to savethechildren.org/savekids or www.savethechildren.org/savekids. So if you're ready to make a difference, Startup Nation, remember savethechildren.org. Make the change for children. The Startup Life is powered by Ladder. Startup Nation, as an entrepreneur, you are the engine that powers your business. We have had many entrepreneurs on the show, from those that played Division II basketball, quite a few Ironman participants, and even an NFL quarterback. And the one thing they all have in common is that they know getting early morning workout wins leads to business success for the day. However, it's super important what fuel you use for your workout to get that early morning success. And that's where Ladder comes in. Ladder is a sports nutrition company founded by LeBron James and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Unlike other supplements, every batch is tested by a third party that is trusted by all major professional sports organizations, including the NBA, NFL, MLB, and more, to verify the highest standards for quality, but more importantly, safety. Ladder's goal is to help you unlock your best in any situation. Right now, that means access to special offers and expert advice from their community. Personally, I like superfood greens. Not only does it include the most essential nutrients that are hard to get in your diet, like magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, and vitamin D, they also included the Rodelio root, which helps keep you healthier when stress is high, but also it helps support immunity according to many studies. Use code BETTEREVERYDAY for 30% off everything site-wide at ladder.sport. That's BETTEREVERYDAY for 30% off at ladder.sport. So maybe you're not trying to be a 4-time league MVP or a 7-time Mr. Olympia, but you still need the tools to elevate your health that elevates your business. So go with Ladder and prepare to get better every day. All right, Startup Nation, welcome back as we continue our conversation with today's guest here on The Startup Life. Once again, Startup Nation, we're talking to Martin Vares, the co-founder and CEO of Fractory. So, and Startup Nation, if you want to check out that website, it's fractory.com. We have a link there in the show notes for easy access. So, Martin, if we could, man, just kind of talk shop a little bit. Talk about the culture there between you and your co-founders and your team. What kind of culture do you have there at Fractory?
Yeah, I actually had to describe it the other day. Basically, if I can go back to the very beginning, well, first of all, I know both of my co-founders for roughly 10 years. One of them I know from school and going out together, and the other one we were doing a band together roughly 10 years ago. And we have kept in touch, although the band itself fell apart quite some time ago. But I know both of them quite well, and I knew that these are the guys that I could see myself working together with, and they obviously felt the same. And before we even started actually building anything, we went into a accelerator here in Estonia called Startup Wise Guys. And although it was near to us, we still had to move to another city and live and work together for 3 months straight. So that was definitely a first testing point for us. So because if you're starting a company and everything is new to you, and there's so many problems and so many things you need to think about and solve, and if you have to live together with the same guys that you're solving those problems with, it's either going to be very horrible experience or it's going to turn out good. And for us, I think it turned out amazing. It was definitely something that solidified our relationship from the beginning. And I had to recently describe it for a book as well. And I thought about it, and I think what made us so sort of strong was the fact that we deeply trusted each other. So all the values that we hold true today, and that we have written in our company handbook and everything, they sort of stem from one simple thing, which is trust. And I think in general, for a team to function well together, you have to trust each other, and that is sort of built the culture we have here in Fractory as well. We tend to trust everybody who is in the company, and that has led us to a place where we see very little micromanagement between the teams, and definitely forgive mistakes if they're not because of some for any stupid reason, but honest mistakes. And we definitely have this sort of do your own thing. We trust you to do the right thing, but if you need anything, just ask. And that is something that we have built from day one. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate that, because, the most important part, of any company, Startup Nation, everybody knows this, is the human capital inside of that company. And so I kind of wanted to get an idea of what that looks like at Fractory. Let me ask a quick follow-up. So when there's issues of necessarily like a disagreement or those mistakes and stuff like that, how do you work through those things?
I mean, I think we can safely say that we don't really get emotional during those disagreements or something.
Fair enough.
Something similar. We tend to look at it again as engineers. We look at the problem and we all know where we want to be. So let's just get there the best and fastest way we can. So that leaves no room for emotions. Let's just discuss. Everybody is open to voice their opinion, and then we run with whatever seems the most reasonable by everybody, and that's that.
If you would, Martin, kind of walk me through like the onboarding process of a new client. Let's say a new client reaches out and they say, "Hey, I'm ready to do business with Fractory. I have some projects that you can definitely help me out with." Walk me through that onboarding process of a new customer at Fractory.
Mm-hmm. We have made a lot of effort to make our product and our system simple and self-explanatory. So a lot of our clients who we start working with or who starts using our system, finding us mostly digitally. So they tend to do their first orders and everything by themselves. But at the same time, we put a lot of effort and good people into our account management team. This is basically a team that is always there for the clients. Whenever a client even makes the signs up an account in our system, then they are straight away appointed to one of our account managers who will be making sure that that client is taken care of. And we definitely put a lot into the education of the account managers, both in building relationships and engineering problems. And I think that is something we can definitely pride ourselves with, is the fact that we always have somebody who is there for the clients if it's necessary, but we have a system that the client can use on their own without any learning curve. It's simple to use. There's no cost for setting it up. You just go on the platform, start using it, and that's that. But you always have somebody who can help you if you run into any problems.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. And Startup Nation, if this is something that you may need in your business or you may need, some help with, go to Fractory.com. We have a link there in the show notes for easy access. And when you go to Fractory.com, you can get an instant quote right there on the website. So Martin, I appreciate you sharing all that, my man.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you this, because, let's be honest. Sometimes we have clients who are, let's just say, they're a little uneasy to kind of work with from time to time. And so I'm curious, how do you handle those customer interactions? Like, what does that look like? Is like, let's say a client they got the service and it didn't go to how they envisioned it. How do you work around those problems?
Yeah, we have set up basically all the necessary processes inside the company with different departments taking care of sort of different segments of the project. So if the client wants something to know about how to order or which materials they should be using or whatever, they can find it with their account managers. But say, of course, in manufacturing, things sometimes go wrong. It's just the truth. It is what it is. There's a transportation of physical goods. Sometimes things go wrong in transportation as well. It happens. So for that, we have a supply management team, and if the client does run into a problem, then there's always somebody there to respond to their requests, and we have a very thorough system to pinpointing exactly what went wrong and remedying it as fast as possible. Our approach to keeping a good client relationship, and this is actually something that we have been credited for as well quite many times by our customers, is that when things do go wrong, they're very happy to use us again because of the fact how well we handle problems.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Martin. I really appreciate that. So, like you said, we talked about this earlier, that during this time, your company has experienced some growth. You were, slated to kind of make $11 million this year, which probably going to blow past that now with everything going on. So I guess, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Business is in the business of making money. So that's what it's supposed to be. But I'm curious about, where do you guys see yourself, 5 years from now, because as we engage more and more and people want not just things to be, custom made and stuff like that, but as engineers become more and more part of the economy as far as like making things and stuff like that, where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years from now?
To be honest, manufacturing in general is already one of the biggest sort of economic factors there is, and we are definitely positioning ourselves towards the bigger side of the industry, which is not quite often unseen for the everyday people, because most of manufacturing is happening between companies. We are building new factories, we are building new machinery, we are building all of that, ships, whatever. So that's quite often unseen, and that's very big part of our life, although we don't see it. And our vision has always been big. We never set out to solve a problem in one market or build a small business that uses software to be a bit more efficient. Our goal is to build a platform that is used all over the world, and we're definitely aiming at being the biggest manufacturing platform there is.
Startup Nation, as we talked earlier, Martin was just recently honored with being part of the Forbes 30 under 30 for what he does at Fractory. Hey man, when you got the call from Forbes saying that you're going to be on this prestigious list, man, were you shocked, surprised? Were you excited? Were you like, man, I don't want to do this? Like, walk me through your emotions there when you got that call.
Yeah, well, this year I wasn't definitely expecting it. Last year, to be honest, and we submitted my name to the list, but didn't receive it. So yeah, I guess this year I actually don't know who submitted my name, or if they took it from last year, or how that happened. But yeah, this year all of a sudden they announced it. They sent me an email, called me, and I was like, wow, that's big. And but I do admit that while my name is on there, it's actually a acknowledgement for the whole team, because I tend to say this quite a lot, but nobody does anything alone. There's always the whole team behind everything we do, and everything any other entrepreneur does. your people, your team is your biggest asset, and that award is definitely a testament for teamwork, not only my work.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. Martin, I want to ask you this, man. What's your entrepreneurial superpower and why? I think all entrepreneurs have a superpower. What's yours?
Well, I'm Estonian, so I think working hard is definitely written into our DNA. So we can go without eating and sleeping for days if we want to achieve something. One of the assets I value about in myself is the fact that I can combine different information from different places and things I've acquired over long periods of time and put that together relatively easily and fast. So whenever there is a problem, so where we started the discussion, then it's quite. I think it's quite easy for me to remind myself of tens of articles that I've written over the time, or a book I read 10 years ago, and or something I experienced 5 years ago, and put that together and translate into a situation that I have at hand right now and come up with a solution on spot. So I think that's something that at least myself, I think of that when again there's a problem, then and me or the team has succeeded in solving it, then I tend to think back that, okay, that was pretty cool. I took that part of my life and that part of my life, put it together, and it fit in this situation.
I hear that. Thank you for sharing all of that, for sure. And before I ask the last question, Martin, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the Startup Life. We definitely appreciate your content and your value and your time for sure, man. For sure.
It's been fun.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But now I'm actually going to turn the microphone over to you, man, because there's somebody out in Startup Nation who's feeling a little stuck, feeling a little, afraid to kind of move forward. Just kind of give us some words of encouragement to take us out for today.
Well, as I said, the way I solve problems is just start, and that's the way I think entrepreneurship should be approached as well. There's always ways and reasons why you shouldn't do something, and why you should be afraid of something. But I don't know if I can say, but I always say fuck it and just do it. So that's my approach to everything, and I think while it sounds simple and easy, I think it should be that simple and easy. And to everybody who's or anybody who's afraid to start something, just toss it aside and start and see where it takes you. The worst thing that can happen is you're back where you started.
And that's going to wrap up our session of the Startup Life. We want to thank Martin once again for coming on the show. Like I said, once again, man, we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No worries. And as always, Startup Nation, if you have an idea, be about that life, the Startup Life.
If you want to let us know what you think about our show, have an idea for a show topic, or would like to advertise on our show, send us a message on the Startup Life Podcast Facebook page. And while you are there, like and follow our page as well. It's a great way for us to engage with you, Startup Nation, and really grow our community. The link is there in the show notes. Subscribe to the show, as it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, or even on your Facebook timeline or any other platform you like to get your podcast. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you find our content valuable, please give us a 5-star rating, as it will help us climb the charts and help more people find our show. You can also listen to the show on the Startup Life Podcast new website. There you will find the all-new startup blog, where I write on many topics that are interesting and helpful to you on your path to entrepreneurship. And hey, if you have an idea, be about that life, the Startup Life. Startup Nation, do you have friends and loved ones that you want to do something nice for, but maybe they live in the next city, the next state, or even halfway around the world? Well, I have a solution for you. Koya is the new and best way to let your friends and family know you're thinking of them. Choose a friend, record a message, and hide it in a location that they are likely to visit, and give them a clue. When they arrive, your message will instantly appear. You can even send them a gift. Best of all, the app is completely free. Get Koya.com to download it now. That's KETKOYA.com. Or check the link in the show notes. Koya, show you care when you can't be there.